Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Geelong Zone. I have a special guest with me from the Jumper Punch, Bocek. I've been trying to get you on for a while. Thank you for joining my show. Really appreciate it, mate.
No worries, man. Sorry, like I said, sorry it's taken so long, but life gets in the way, you know?
I do know that, but no, it's all good. Whatever you decide, you get. As I treat all my guests with respect, so they can come back. But it is good having you. We're here to preview the grand final, also review the two prelims, the Collingwood and Brisbane, and Geelong and Hawthorn. And we might talk a bit about wrestling if we've got time in the show. WrestlePalooza just ended yesterday. Interesting results. But we'll get into that later on. We'll start with reviewing the two prelim finals. We'll start at Friday night, Geelong and Hawthorn. And Bo, the first quarter, I have to admit, I was very nervous. Jack Henry went down with an ankle injury. Tom Stewart was out due to concussion. I thought, oh my God, this is just a complete nightmare with our rivals, who we don't have a good history with in finals. But the third, after halftime, we just punished them. Our midfield completely smashed them. Credit to Hawthorn, they still kept coming. But I thought Geelong dominated half of this match, really, despite Hawthorn's first quarter. How did you see it, Bo?
Honestly, in the first quarter, if not first half, I was still saying to my mates, I think this could be. I said prior to it might have been one of the shows last week on TJP. I said that Hawthorn do have a chance at winning this, and I said that given the heart that they have, I think you might have heard me say it. You know, given the heart that they have and the way they play, their brotherhood, that I think they could get over the line. But look, I wouldn't be surprised if they do lose as well. You know. I did tip Geelong, but in that first half, I'm thinking this could actually happen. I mean, if Hawthorn just keep this up and have the legs to see it out, then it'll happen. Too good in the second half. It's as simple as that. And I think, you know, with Stewart out, the fact that they still, I'm not saying one man makes an entire team, but he is a pretty key out mid-game, you know, or not even mid-game, right? So, you know, for them to reshuffle a little bit and still hold their own and go and put on the score that they did in the second half, that can only mean one thing, man. Positive signs going into a granny.
It felt like the Brisbane game, because after halftime, Geelong just dominated that third quarter, like they did against Brisbane. Hawthorn really had no answers. Maybe Hawthorn ran out of legs. Credit with Sam Mitchell, you know, he did bring CJ on, put Chol in the ruck, did help them a bit. But the third quarter, our midfield, you really clicked Patrick Dangerfield. Not supposed to do what he's been doing at age 35. Unbelievable game. I could not believe what I saw in that game with him.
He's got the ability. That's the sort of player you want, though. I mean, he could have like one of the worst seasons possible, or be basically, you know, not having as much impact as a Bailey Smith or a Max Holmes or whatever it's going to be, because a lot of your play throughout the season, if I'm not incorrect, I watch a few Geelong games, but a lot of your impact plays go through Holmes these days, right?
Yes.
So for Danger to come in and have such an impact and stand up when he needed to is huge. You know, that's really, really big. Now he has to carry that into the final and show what sort of a leader he is. I want to say a couple of things on that a bit later. But I think the fact that he stood up and the entire team just got it over the line. I mean, there's not much else to say. I think most of the action was the first two quarters, because everyone was thinking, oh, we could have a game on our hands here, and then you just run away with it. So it is what it is. Hi, Matula.
Yes, Matula said hello, Lucas and Bo. Hello, Matula. Thank you for watching.
Mama Matula from TJP.
Yeah, I get a lot of those when I bring the TPG guys over here. So no, thank you for watching. Do appreciate the support. On Hawthorn's midfield, I said this on your pre-show on Thursday. I said Mullins is the best tagger in the game, and he needs to keep Newcomb quiet. He did an outstanding job once again on Newcomb.
Yep.
Connor Nash was good also. Warple, I've said this about Warple for many weeks. I know he's linked with Geelong. I said if you put pressure on Warple, he turns it over. I thought Warple outside the first quarter was awful. I thought he turned the ball way too much under pressure. Thumberley, I just don't. From a Geelong point of view, I would not like to see him at Geelong. I'd rather see someone else, but we are linked to him, and it looks like he's coming over. Nash again was good in the first quarter. Impey I thought had a really quiet game. Third quarter he was very good, but genuinely he was very quiet compared to the Adelaide game last week where he was outstanding for 4 quarters.
Yeah, I think all their impact players did their damage early.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
they didn't run it out. I mean, even the commentators were saying that Newcomb is starting to get he's starting to lose his bearings, right? His kicking wasn't correct. It was all over the place after that. It was like a completely different team. And like the best way that I described it to my mates while we were watching it was, I think they did all their damage early, and then that was it. They didn't have a second half in them.
How many times did you see Carl Amon and Impey, a halfback, play on and kick the ball along to the left-hand side of the wing? If they didn't do that once, they did that 100 times. It just got too predictable. It worked early,
correct,
but it just got so predictable. And I said I did a preview on this show. I said the key to the game is to neutralise Carl Amon and Jamin Impey run from halfback, because they were all over Adelaide, they're all over GWS. We did that fantastically, and they just kept on bombing along on that wing. Yeah, I just couldn't believe. Now the fourth quarter they did take it on a little bit more. It was too late. Game was over. So I thought Geelong's 450 pressure really stopped Hawthorn from getting the run outside halfback.
The issue there that I always ask myself, and I do it with Carlton as well when we see them do things repeatedly and wonder what the hell don't you see that we can see while we're watching the game? Like, how does a coach not identify that, right? You have to kind of ask yourself, if they're constantly doing things like that, are they being instructed to persist at that? Or are they doing that off the back of their own decision? Because I don't think anyone with a fully functioning footy brain would continue to do something that's not working. You're at a pro level. You can identify that it's not working. Go back to what works, which is exactly what you said. Impey and Amon, or mainly Impey, I would say, with the runoff halfback. I don't know why it took them so long to go with that. I have no idea. That's where they do a lot of their damage, which then ultimately brings in Newcomb to the game, right? Off that halfback, and then he can dispose from there, inside 50 and whatever else. But I mean, it's like I said, all the good things, everything that they're good at, they did in the first half.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think it was within 2 or 3 minutes. I could be wrong. I'm terrible with time, but it could have been a little bit into the third quarter. That the commentator said, "What's going on here? Where's the plan gone? Why do they have so many players that look like they're lost?" You know, so
well, yeah, I agree. They're completely, if you want to use the word, vanilla. After quarter time, they didn't really. There wasn't really after quarter time. I thought, you know what, if Geelong get back into this, I think they'll be all right. And since half time, there was not one threat from Hawthorn. Now, I didn't think the game was over, because I don't really think like that. But I thought after half time, there was the threat that Hawthorn, their main threat is running power. They can run you off your feet. Gunston, for me, I think had a weird game, even though he didn't kick 4 or 5 goals. I thought his playmaking was okay. Lewis Mitchell, I didn't expect that from him. But again, he kicked all the goals in the first quarter. Didn't do much after quarter time.
The thing is, you can't. They were never going in a game like that against Geelong in a final, right? In a prelim, you cannot rely on Gunston to kick 4 or 5 and think that that's good enough. It's similar with you. You guys are not going to win a grand final just because Cameron kicks 5 goals. It's not going to happen. Right? So they had to have the same run that they had. And there's a comment there in your comments there saying that it was evident at the ground that the Hawks were gassed from 5 minutes from half time, right? And that was blatantly obvious. I mean, we just spoke about it. I said the exact same thing, that after half time, it was like they had no legs, but it's like their footy IQ went out the bloody door as well. Well, I don't know what happened. It fell apart. But I
Yeah,
mean, they kind of kept in touch a little bit and whatever. Nah. At the end of the day,
well,
I think it was done.
Mitchell, he did bring Chol and CJ into the ruck, which I thought changed a little bit. But
I thought CJ was bang average, to be honest.
yeah, I thought when they moved him into the ruck, I thought it was something a little bit extra. You hit the nail on the head. They stayed with him, but they were too far behind. They would have had to kick 6-7 goals in the last quarter, which they're not.
I'm all about people, coaches moving the magnets around and everything. Why are you throwing Nick Watson into one-on-one contests in the on half back or in the back line?
Yeah.
Let's just say, what on earth? I mean, like I say, I'm all about throwing magnets around and whatnot and seeing what can happen and throwing a spanner in the works. But that's not doing that. That to me, that's incredibly stupid.
Mm.
He's not a utility player.
Yeah, well, he's a running gun player. So why not use him to advantage? And again, as you mentioned before, he had a good first quarter, Nick Watson.
I know. I mean,
so
what are you doing?
All their players had a good first quarter. What the hell happened?
Exactly. I mean, but when I saw him do that, he got out jumped. Who was the contest where it was kicked into the forward pocket and he just got blatantly just shoved out of it? He had no height, of course. And the commentators even said, they're like, what is he doing in a one-on-one aerial contest in the back line?
I think it might have been O'Sullivan in that situation.
Okay, right. And I'm sitting there thinking, what on earth was he thinking? Has he really just lost any idea of where this is going? He's just like, stuff it. I'll just do this. What? Yeah, okay, if you've got the players to do that, but you don't do it with a Nick Watson. I don't know. That made zero sense to me, man. But at the end of the day, you guys did what you had to do, and your leaders stood up, especially Danger. But I mean, what else can be said, man? I mean, the better team won, and I think the fact that you had players in there that know what to do in those situations. I mean, we lack that at Carlton, pressure situations in games and pressure situation overall. We just buckle. Whereas you've got players that under the pump, you're able to come out second half and change it. And of course, that's instruction as well. But when you got Danger firing like that, and who knows what instructions he's given out there on the field, we can't hear it. But they stood up, man. That's it.
But from a Geelong point of view, Cameron and Neil were very quiet. Neil had zero impact. Cameron had little impact. Yet they still won convincingly. That, I think, is the most pleasing part, that their forwards did not fire. I thought Stengel had his best game in about 5-6 weeks. He's been really struggling, Stengel, especially with his goal kicking. Yeah. I thought Manor was fantastic. He goes under the radar, Manor. Not really. No one really talks about him. Close ball. He's forward line pressure, as he always does. Atkins was an inside mid beast. Just tackle after tackle after tackle.
It's funny you mentioned Manor, because I've got some notes about him coming up. But go on.
Yeah, it's just these guys that don't really get paid their dues. Because everyone talks about that. No one talks about Atkins. Talk about Smith, Max Holmes, Dangerfield. No one talks about Manor because of Stengel. Close, Cameron, Neil. So it's these players that go under the radar that do heavy damage. I'm interested to hear your point about Manor. So yeah, go on with that one, please.
No, so what I did was, because I wasn't sure how in depth we were going to go into previewing the grand final, but I did players to watch, and I chose 3 from each team, right? But the ones from Geelong that I chose was obviously Danger, because of the form that he's going to carry into the grand final. We get that it's a completely clean slate once you get there, right? And the pressure's on and all the rest of it, different environment. But if he can carry on what he did in the prelim, but he's got the experience, he's a level head, he knows how to rally the team, and he's been in that situation before. So if he can fire and he's on up here and he doesn't go quiet, he's going to be a real threat. But I have Manor in the same list, and it's funny because you said he goes under the radar and all that, right? I've literally verbatim, this is what I've written. This bloke came out of nowhere to be a very useful player, right? And then I've written, Brisbane cannot overlook him, because if they allow him to have an impact, it can change everything. And I think a lot of, I mean, you don't, I don't. I know a lot of people who watch plenty of AFL that don't just watch Carlton games or don't just watch Geelong games, whatever it might be for their own team. If you watch Mano and some of the, let's say 15 plus disposal games that he's had this season, man, that guy can play, dude. Like he when you say he goes under the radar, he does, and I think a lot of teams don't realize it.
Yep.
And they forget that he's there, and then he just has this impact out of nowhere. I can't go into it technically or in depth because I don't follow Geelong the same way I follow Carlton to know traits and attributes of what his best game is. But I do know that, you know, enough from seeing Geelong games that this guy can kick a goal. He can get in and around the contest. How do you overlook him? If Brisbane overlook him, there could be a few problems. And then I said, well, Cameron as well. If Cameron fires, and when I say if Cameron fires, I mean not just kicking goals, I mean getting up the field and so on and so forth, like he does. That can be a real handy thing because he can single-handedly carry the team the same way that Danger can, I think.
I do want to move away from this game, but is there any other thoughts you have for this game that you want to share? Something that caught your eye?
Not on that prelim, nah.
Okay. So yeah, Geelong wins that prelim into the grand final. The other prelim final, Collingwood versus Brisbane, Saturday twilight for some weird reason. I don't know why it was before. Well, I don't get that.
They said that it was because it gave, if Brisbane were to win, it gave them adequate time to get back that same day.
Okay. No.
And I thought, okay, as opposed to, I mean, and they took a charter flight back from what I heard on the thing. So you couldn't have done that at like 10 o'clock at night, 10:30 at night or whatever. Like, I don't understand, but it is what it is. They get that few extra hours off, whatever.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, I heard their boss. Yeah, I heard their boss said they're going to do exactly what they did last year, and it worked. So I guess
that means they'll be back here on Wednesday, bro.
Yeah. That's what he said. Yeah. This prelim was a weird game. This was based on momentum. It felt Brisbane were going to blow them out. Collingwood came out after quarter time. Feel like they were going to blow them out. Brisbane came out at half time, blew them out. This was such a weird game with momentum. This even flowed all game. It was so weird.
So, I mean, you just said it. It was a battle of two teams that can swing a game in their favor when they need to. You know, how many times we've seen Collingwood down by 30 points and no one thinks anything of it because we know they can come back. It's the same thing with Brisbane. Brisbane have the ability. They have the coaching panel or, you know, Fagan who can change things up to get them back in the game. So I never really expected a thumping. I saw so many people, especially Collingwood supporters, saying they're going to win by 36 plus. We're going to demolish them. People are overestimating them and so on and so forth. I'm thinking, why? This was prior to the game. I'm thinking, why are nobody speaking about Brisbane like they're a chance? Like Collingwood's going to come out and absolutely destroy them. To me, that was just silly, right? But it was exactly that. It felt like the way Collingwood came out immediately that they were just going to run a train and then Brisbane come back and so on. Now, granted, the umpiring swung this many different ways, about 50,000 different ways throughout the game. From go to the end, from start to finish, that umpiring for both teams was terrible. That was so, to me, I think I made a comment in one of the Carlton groups. I said, if there was ever a time, right, that I felt that umpires were being paid off, this was the game. And I'm not someone that thinks that, Lucas, ever, right? No. I don't believe in conspiracy shit about the AFL and who they favor and all that sort of stuff and rigged and all this sort of crap. I don't do that, right? But if there was ever a time that I had to think this could be a payoff job, mate, this was unacceptable on all sorts of levels for both teams. Not just for Collingwood, not just for Brisbane. It was so inconsistent. And then I sat back and I thought, well, credit to the umpires. They stay consistent with their inconsistency throughout the entire season. Because that's
consistently bad.
Right? But honestly, I think you nailed it. It was the way it just swung back and forth. It was always going to be a battle of who's going to be able to swing this in their favor and get that little break. And in the end, it was Brisbane. It is what they showed that that they could go that extra gear and get over the line.
Well, apparently the umpiring has never been better. Apparently.
Who said that?
I think that was Andrew Dillon who said that back in the early rounds.
Sure, mate. I mean, he's always going to back the umpires and so on and so forth. It is what it is. But I mean, Stevie Wonder's watching this going, terrible umpiring. You know what I mean? Like, it's no good, mate.
Look, Andrew Dillon, Laura Kane, they basically set that up.
Only Carlton.
Yeah.
What a man.
Disaster for Collingwood early. They lost Pendlebury to a calf injury. Apparently he injured that in the warm-up. I didn't really notice that. Yeah. I found that interesting.
You're right. He injured it in the warm-up, but he was at the doctor's prior to that game, right? I don't know if it was the day before or the same morning of, and the doctor identified that he had an issue, yet they still went and played him. Now work that one out. You won't go and play Bobby Hill, who's injury-free. He's just got off-field issues, but he still was at the game. You won't go and play him who's injury-free, who can have an impact in a final and potentially get that 1 or 2 goals that matter. But you go and play someone who was literally diagnosed in the morning, or let's say the day before, I'm not sure, that he has an issue. What are you thinking?
Well, when it comes to, especially Pendlebury's age and soft tissue injuries, you should take no risks.
Correct.
As you mentioned, I like your point when you brought up Bobby Hill. He hasn't been training fully. I think he only really trained last week and whatnot, but he's been uninjured. There's nothing wrong with him physically. Craig McRae said that, he doesn't want to use the Pendlebury as an excuse. But if you knew that a player is going to have a soft tissue injury, especially at his age, it won't matter now because he's got 6 months off or whatnot. It won't matter. Yeah. But if you knew there's a risk, why play him? Play someone they played Howe. Jeremy Howe was horrible in that first quarter. It got better as the game went on. But for me, I think they should have played Bobby Hill. I was a little bit surprised when they ruled him out. I thought he would have been at least a sub.
I mean, they played Mychek as well.
They did, yeah.
It's so stupid.
Only Carlton, sometimes mental stability is much more important than physical stability. Yeah, fair enough.
I agree with that. However, and because we don't know what the situation is with Bobby Hill, whether or not he was ready to play mentally, right? But for me, if that is the case, then we understand, of course. But I'm just saying, from an outsider's point of view, with no inside knowledge about what's going on there, obviously there was a good reason why he wasn't picked. That could be on his own accord, but I mean, I don't understand. It just didn't make sense to me. But I mean, they got their reasons. It is what it is. I'm just saying, from our point of view, how do you go and play 3 players that are not 100% fit and you won't even give him a run? So, but speculation.
Brisbane, to the actual game itself, Brisbane, after halftime, their four-line pressure, their midfield pressure was absolutely fantastic. It reminded me of the prelim game last year against Geelong. After 3/4 time, they just smashed us. We had literally no answer. I felt that, and I thought, yeah, this is Brisbane at its best when it's just pressure, 4-line 50 pressure. Their midfielders, Cam Rayner, I thought, though he didn't kick 4 or 5 goals, I thought he was a lot better than the first final. They just keep going, Brisbane. They're just like you said, people think they're under the radar. They don't rate them this year. It would be a horrible mistake if you think Geelong's going to win by 40 or 50 points this week. This is going to be. I am
seeing comments like that. I mean, Matthew Lloyd even came out and said that it's going to be a big win. Now, I can't work that out. We say it every single season, and anyone that even watches a smidgen of footy, you want to be playing your best footy now.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want to be doing it in round 1. So or whereas with Carlton, we'd just like to play good footy in general. At any time would be nice. We'll take it round 1. We'll take it at the end of the season. I don't mind. Just give us one game. But with Brisbane, they've literally shown now what they're capable of doing. And let's not forget, they're the reigning premiers, right? they have that second gear. They have that mentality of we're in finals now. This needs to go differently. We need to show something else again. Yeah. And if you just look at it on with layman's terms like that, this is why I think the grand final is going to be like you said, it's not going to be a pumping. This is going to be a very, very close game because, I mean, we'll get into tips after if you want to, but I mean, it's not a game. I can't even pick a winner, right, comfortably for this grand final. You got two of the best teams in the league, who, in my opinion, they both deserve to be there, right? If Brisbane, I'll just say it now, if Brisbane play the way they did in the second half against Geelong in the grand final for 4 quarters,
yeah,
it's over.
Mm.
It's over. I don't think Geelong goes with them.
Mm. That they have an ability to turn it on whenever they please, Brisbane. That's what makes them so dangerous. They can look
I agree with you.
They can look boring, vanilla, just like that. I know I keep mentioning this, but like that prelim, we were in cruise control up till half time. We didn't get out of third gear, and then bang, Brisbane just said, you know what, enough of this rubbish. We're going to absolutely pound you and bash you up around the contest, especially in the inside. And then they pants us. The second half was absolutely fantastic. So no, I hate it when people say it's going to be a blowout. I know grand finals of past have been blowouts. I don't see this one being a blowout. The question the question is for Brisbane. I'll ask you this: would you play Lachie Neale?
I mean, if he's ready, yes. I mean, if they're 100% sure that there's not a chance of him potentially re-injuring that in the first quarter and then it all going downhill, right? I wouldn't take that risk. You have to be 100% sure that this guy is ready. And I don't know if he is 100% even. I would say he's maybe at 90% and they inject him and then off he goes, right? But I think they've got more than enough cover to potentially win the flag, right? Without Neale. I think so. Because there's two situations. Either you start him as a sub, right? And then you're basically thinking, okay, well, if someone gets injured or whatever it is, we'll bring him on. But then you're sitting there with Lachie Neale as your sub for 3/4 of the game, right? What a waste. And then the flip side of that is you play him, something happens in the first quarter, he gets a niggle, no good, and he's off straight away anyway. So I think it's 100% or nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, Brisbane are an explosive team, man. Like, they've got so much flair. They've got so much good footy IQ in there. Not to say that Geelong doesn't, right? But they've got that second gear. They've got all of those great traits about their team, right? And especially the one you just said, they've got that ability to just flick the switch and go, right? So I don't see Neale, of course it's a big out, but I don't see it being so impactful that they can't win.
No, I agree. I agree with that. And the key word that you mentioned was explosiveness. We saw that in the first quarter, and then we saw that in the third quarter, where they just whipped Collingwood apart, and Collingwood never recovered. So no, they do have that. 100% agree with you on that point. They do have flair, and they can turn on whenever they want, which makes them so dangerous. You got to put them away early as you can, because if they're up at 3/4 time or down by only 3-4 points, they can easily. If anyone can come back from that, it can be Brisbane because of their explosiveness.
I've got a couple questions for you if you want to answer them on that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, go ahead. I've got some questions here. I'll just read out. I'm expecting a different Brisbane team. Won't be like the qualifying final. I agree with that. What if Lachie Neale is 70 to 80% fit? Would you risk it? I think what Bo said, it's either 100% or nothing. Can't afford to fall asleep the first 10 minutes in game like we did against Hawthorn. I like that point, Kiri. The first 10 minutes we were awful against Hawthorn. If we do that against Brisbane, they kick 6-7 goals, and we're in real trouble. Go ahead, Bo. So
I was going to say to you, we're talking about Brisbane as a team and how they look, overall. All season, from what I've heard, and I mean, it's been blatantly obvious from commentators and pundits and whatever else, right? Everyone keeps referring to Geelong as the complete team, right?
Yep.
So if we put Geelong up again, and I want you to answer this with no bias.
Okay,
No bias. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'll try.
you put it's a hard one, I know. Okay. You put Geelong up against Brisbane, and the chat can answer this as well, right? You put Geelong up against Brisbane, and who do you think is the most complete team out of those two?
Well,
You want to say
technically,
Geelong so bad.
yeah, try not to be, but no, but technically, if you go by past results, it's Brisbane because they've won the last five against us. So technically, it's Brisbane. So I think when we bet them in qualifying final, that was our first win against them in 5 or 6 games.
Yep.
Now you remember Cardinia Park early in the year, they absolutely smashed us, tortured us. So to answer your question, the more complete team I think is Brisbane, from forward to backline. I think our depth is a little bit better. I think our depth is just a tiny bit better, but I still think from the 22 just to 22, yeah, maybe Brisbane's a little bit better in that department, in my opinion.
I think you just, that's why I was like this. I'm like, you stole the words out of my mouth. I was going to say, I think your depth is better, but I think, I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand. It's a bit contradictory because if you're looking at a complete team, it includes depth, right? But at the same time, I think Brisbane isn't too far away in that department anyway. And I would say Brisbane overall for sure. Don't listen to Omi Carlton. He has no idea about footy. He knows about oil. If you ask him about oil, he's really big in the oil industry.
I do like that though. I do like that statement. That's a pretty good statement. I can agree with.
That I agree with. They're a much more professional side, and I think as a club overall, they're a lot more professional in terms of the way they go about it. If you're looking at white collar, blue collar sort of shit, right? I get that, but I think as a complete team, Brisbane just have it all covered, man. They really do. But it's not. I'm not saying that Geelong doesn't. I was just wanting to see where your head was at in terms of that question because they keep referring to Geelong as this complete side.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't think no team is complete. In my opinion, no team is, but depth does help. Coaching also helps as well. I think. No, I know I've been on Chris Scott. I know I've been on. If any of the Hoops crew people are watching, they'll find this a bit contradictory. Look, I think Chris Scott is the better coach in the box. But Andrew Fagan, he's not a bad coach either. He's actually a pretty good coach. So when you think about all around, coaching does obviously help, of course. But they're not playing. It can be only left up to the players. Yeah, they can switch magnets. They can do what they want. I think Chris Scott sometimes is a little bit. It just doesn't want to make changes. Now, if you saw with Jack Henry on Gunston, Jack Henry his ankle was banged up, and when Gunston, outmarked him off, oh my god, what the fuck are we doing leaving him on fucking Gunston? He's stupid. If Gunston kicks 5-6 goals because this game over. So that's the only criticism I have of Chris Scott. I think he takes a little bit too long to make changes.
On that note, with you speak about Jack Henry, right? On that note, with Stewart out, right?
Yeah.
How do you see that playing out? Do you see yourself going back to what you did week 1 of the finals, where you had Jack Henry full back for a bit, so on and so forth? You do exactly what you did there, even though Stewart was in the game. I mean, Stanley comes back in. Does that free up what's his face, Blitzarves, to go back into defense? And I mean, he's a big player. You can play back there. I mean, you got Rayner, Morris, Archie. I mean, if you want to include Big O in there as well, who gets down there as well, what do you do about this now?
Now, if you remember the qualifying final, Tom Stewart was one of our better players.
I can't remember who was good and who wasn't.
Yeah,
I remember the setup.
This is why I prefer it would have been Collingwood, because it wouldn't the Stewart out wouldn't have hurt as much if it was Collingwood. With Brisbane with their tall timber around, you just mentioned, that can be a problem. Jack Henry, I'm not sure what Jack Henry status is. He trained in the open training session. Apparently he's fine, but he looked pretty banged up. Word is we're going to bringing a like for like. Well, there's no like for Tom Stewart, but we're going to bring in Booze. He's a defender.
Yeah.
We'll bring him back.
Jeez.
So
does that mean Stanley's not coming in?
I don't think so. I think they're content with what they got.
Right.
So
what about? So then, I mean, they're going to throw Sam DeConning at some point back there as well.
Yeah. So, I thought Sam DeConning was good last week, in my opinion, especially in the ruck.
I've always said he's good. I think he's a great player. I think he really. That's it. You speak about under the radar. I don't think he gets the praise he deserves.
He's had a couple of shaky few weeks, but no, he was really impressive in that first fight and last week as well. When he had to cover the load. But like I said, there's no like for Tom Stewart. He's one of the best players in the league, defensive players in the league. Intercept market. Sorry, that's the word I'm looking for. So there is no like for replacement. But it's just fortunate that we're playing Brisbane. If it was Collingwood, I wouldn't have cared so much because they're relying on their small, medium forwards. I just don't want Logan Morris to have an absolute field day. That's what I'm really concerned about because Stewart did well on him the first game in the qualifying final. So that's a little bit of concern for me. But Geelong's defence has been really good. Anyway, they're a very good defensive team. I know they score heavily at times, but their defence is actually pretty good. It is a huge blow, but I think we can cover him as long as, like I said, we don't let Logan Morris kick 5 or 6 and we're in real trouble. But before I move on, is there any other thoughts you have on this grand final that you wanna say?
Well, the AFL just announced that it's sold out.
Yeah.
And then I did find out some not so great news for a few Geelong supporters that were I don't know if you heard. There were a lot of Priority 1 members that were going to get tickets and they get to the transaction thing and it said it couldn't be processed. So I hope that these Priority 1 members got the tickets that they were supposed to get because there's Priority 2 members that are saying we got ours, no issue. So it'd be pretty poor. And because Ticketek, you can't go and call them or anything. It's all through the app now. It's all through the website and online stuff and all that. You can't just call them up and go, what's going on? They don't take those calls anymore, So that's what I heard. But it is sold out. So it's going to be an absolute bumper.
I'm expecting 100,000.
Fourth time you meet this season.
Yeah. Don't get me started on Ticketek. I've had problems with them in the past.
They're terrible. Look, I respect the business and they do a lot of work and all the rest of it, but mate, they got a lot wrong with them as well.
Answering some questions, the only count. Tom had 22 in a goal with 11 marks. I think he's talking about the last game against Brisbane. He was one of their better player. And fuck did Coney. That's a bit harsh on DK there. You can say about your own Tom. Going to St Kilda, but that's harsh on Sam.
DK's all right. He's done nothing to us.
We actually wanted Tom DeConey, but St Kilda have offered him the Lamborghini money.
Can I ask you a question? Did you see the photo of the DeConings and Acres in your rooms?
I did. I'm glad you actually brought this up. I did see that. I actually wanted to say this to you. What did you make of the Charlie Curnow at the watching the Geelong game?
Well, I'm still hearing more, and like I say, it's all hearsay. Nobody actually knows, but I'm still hearing more that the likelihood of him going to the Gold Coast is higher than it is to go to Geelong. As for the Acres thing, I'm sorry. I likened it to Curnow holding up a Dacos badge because they're buddies in the Collingwood rooms. You do not do stuff like that. I don't care if you're mates. I don't care if you got a business together. No fan wants to see you holding up merch from another team. I'm not saying we're tribal Eastern Europe football fans that are going to go rip a flare and throw it at him, right?
Yeah,
that's not what we do in the AFL. I get that, but have some respect.
Of course,
You got Acres in the rooms, and of course, his mates. We get it. Footballers are mates with other mates, with other teams, and all the rest of it. I get all that shit, right? But considering the state of our club right now, and the players that are all leaving, and so on and so forth, read the room. Probably not a good time to be going and holding up a badge for your mate, in the rooms. To me, that and it goes back without going too much into Carlton because I'll just explode. Without going too much into Carlton, it's just indicative of how we have no tribalism at our club anymore, and how it's always Mr. Nice Guy, right? So that's how I see that.
Well, yeah, I could be a little bit mouthy, but we haven't won the grand final. We haven't won the grand final yet, so there's no point me saying, "Oh, Carlton are this and that," and then we'll get absolute pants in the grand final. I want to move on away from. No, I can't.
You're terrible.
To you, I won't do that. I want to move on to for the next 5 minutes, and then we'll wrap it up. The WWE. I know you're a very passionate fan. I'm a passionate fan of wrestling, not just WWE but AEW as well. You said to me that not so much AEW, which is fine. WrestlePalooza, the recent pay-per-view yesterday. Very strange results, strange matches. We won't go through all of them, but the John Cena and Brock Lesnar match, I thought that was complete rubbish. What the fuck was that? That was so weird.
Just absolute squash match. I think it was completely unnecessary. I mean, we waited and waited and waited for Brock to show his face after he came out the first time, and it was like, holy shit, he's back and all the rest of it. And then he comes back and it's a squash match. And I get it. He signed a multi-year deal, right? And they're probably going to push him into some bigger stuff now. And I love Brock. Don't get me wrong. I'm really hoping we see him in Perth. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a rematch. That's what I think is going to happen with Cena. But you know what I didn't really like, and this is meant to be his big, hurrah and see you later and all the rest of it. And his entrance was so good, with all the kids and they all came out, the mini Cenas and all that. It was really good, right? Pulls at the heartstrings sort of stuff. And then they go and squash him. I thought, what was the... And look, I don't complain about what I watch in TV shows because it's a bloody TV show. I don't have to watch it, right?
Yeah.
So I don't complain about stuff too much, especially with wrestling. I'm not like these other Twitter heads where they're just complaining about every detail. But you have to ask yourself, what on earth was the point of that? It wasn't even a good match.
No,
I could have understood if they had gone like a 5-minute match, if that. But it was amazing, and he still lost. Okay, cool. But this was a squash match.
But if you count John Cena's offense, I think he only did 3 shoulder blocks and 3 views. That's it. That's all the offense he made in 10 minutes. After that result, I thought, why bother? I thought it was going to be a 15-20 minute match. I thought this was going to be a very entertaining match. Boy, was I wrong.
I'm with you. I thought we were going to get a lengthy match of swings and twists and all sorts of stuff. But after that, I said this is all I said. I just said, what the hell was that? That's all I said. I was like, what the hell is that?
Well, yeah, hopefully if they do have a rematch in Perth, hopefully it'll be a little bit better than that. That'd be nice.
I hope it is that, because I'd like to see that, that's a worry, knowing that this could literally be the same crap again and he just squashes him again, and I don't see how they can do that, but yeah, it is what it is.
From one stinker to a really good match in the women's championship match between Io Sky and Stephanie Vaquer. Sorry if I get that name wrong. Apologies. Vaquer. That was a good match. I really enjoyed that match. I thought that was the best match of the night, in my opinion. What were your general thoughts of that?
That's got to be up there with match of the year. I mean, up until now, I thought it would have been Rhea and Io, right? Yep. That was possibly one of the best matches I've seen in I don't even know how long. That was some superstar stuff, right? But this has to go up there as a contender. This was so good. It was so good. But if you look at it, EO, absolute. If you just look at them, forget the entertainment part of it or how they are on the mic or anything like that. Both of those women are unreal wrestlers in their own right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't that sort of class of match, I'd be worried. But this was really good, man.
See, with Stephanie, she came from New Japan. She was in AEW for a brief time. She had a match against Sasha Banks or Mercedes Moné. slash Sasha Banks, whoever you want to call her. They had a title match, and I thought that was a good match. I think WWE, did really well pick her up. I thought AEW would sign her on. Literally, that's what happens with New Japan. AEW picks them up. But that was a really good signing, and I think Stephanie's going to be a very good champion. Io Sky in her own right is world class. She doesn't get the credit. We're talking about Geelong players not getting the credit they deserve. She doesn't get the credit she deserves either. She's not a Bianca Belair. She's not a Ripley. She doesn't get any credit. She goes under the radar, but she's a world class wrestler. Sky.
You have to look at that two different ways because, obviously English isn't her first language, right?
Yes, yeah.
So the promos are not going to be as good as listening to Belair or to Tiff or whatever it might be, yeah. But in terms of female wrestlers, Io's easily, I would say, top two, depending on what you watch wrestling for. But as a wrestler, she's insane, dude. She's a very, very good wrestler, technically, all sorts of stuff, right? But Steph Kerr, the only thing that would tarnish this is if they have her walking around, I'm champion, and all the rest of it, and she has no matches. They have to find her good matches now that people like talent that can keep up with her, because Io can keep up with her. I've got a feeling at some point we're going to get Asuka versus Steph.
Yeah, the way that they build that up on I think it was SmackDown, was it?
It has to happen. But ultimately, I think what's going to happen, it's going to suck, but it's going to be so good at the same time. Yeah. I think they're going to put her through the ringer. It'll be Asuka. It'll be the next one. It'll be Tiff. Sorry, not Tiff. It'll be someone will return, and who knows what's going to happen, right? But she's going to end up losing it to Rhea. That's what I think ends up happening.
I want to talk about before we head off. The tag team match between the married couple, CM Punk, AJ Lee, Seth Rollins, and Becky Lynch. This is, you're probably going to disagree with you, but I just thought this was a publicity stunt match. I couldn't really get into it. Yeah, it was for AJ Lee mainly to bring her back, but I don't know. I thought it was a bit bland for me, and I don't know. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. It was a spot match. I call them spot matches. Yeah. So all you were looking for pretty much is quirky stuff to happen. You wanted to see AJ's finisher a few times. I think it was 2 or 3, wasn't it? I think twice, maybe. Right? It's a spot match. You're looking for CM Punk to do funny stuff. You're looking for the antics of Becky and Seth. That's all it was for. And it was a publicity thing, of course, but it had to happen because it made sense to happen. Husband and wife versus husband and wife. But all I'm hoping now is that AJ gets a shot at. I don't think they give her a world title shot. I don't think that happens. But I think this continues with her and Becky.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what happens.
I'd be all for that if it's good matches. If it's a bit boring, or they pump up AJ just because it's AJ, CM Punk's wife, I wouldn't like that, to be honest. Because AJ,
10 years, she did all right for after 10 years. Like she was, you could see, bit shaky, bit rusty.
I thought her in-ring ability, I could see that. I thought, you know what, she hasn't worked for it. It's going to happen. But I thought she did all right. So, no, it'd be interesting to see what's going to happen with that. We are out of time, Bo. Thank you so much for talking wrestling, previewing the finals, reviewing the 2 finals. Before you do go, is there anything you want to share in general? But anything in life, anything you want to?
Mate, I'm happy to leave you with my tip, and I'm gonna say it's Brisbane by about 7 or 8 points. Right? I'm sorry, but I've got to go with what I'm thinking, right? But I truly feel like this is going to be an absolute blockbuster. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I don't care what Matthew Lloyd says and everybody else. I truly think this is going to be an absolutely ripper game. But I'm going to feel that Brisbane are the ones that flick the switch and say, all right, now's the time. But I feel like it's going to be a bit of a late charge from Geelong and it just won't be enough.
Yeah, this will be very close. I think Geelong by 4 points. Just on Matthew Lloyd, did you see his his list on the top 50 players of all time?
No, but now I feel like I should look at that and be disgusted.
Oh my god! I won't put you in that
me
position.
that at some point?
I haven't seen it, but
Yeah, link
I
it to
saw
me if you have a thing.
I saw some players in some interesting positions, and I thought, how the hell did you get that conclusion?
Right.
I don't even
He
think
says
he had
some weird stuff, dude.
I don't think he had danger in his top 15. He had Carey at number 1, Ablett at number 2, Senior at number 2, which I guess is pick and choose at that point. But the top 10 to 20 was a bit weird. He had Martin at, I think, at 5, Dustin Martin at 5.
Okay.
So yeah, a bit interesting with the picks. No, not Wayne. Wayne Carey won't confuse the fuck out of me.
One thing I want to ask you before we go, right?
Yep.
Say Geelong win it.
Yep.
All right. Geelong wins it. And Danger wins his flag as captain. Does he then? Okay, actually, right now as it stands, forget the grand final. As it stands, do you think Danger has surpassed Dusty?
If he wins another flag?
No. As it stands now.
As it stands now, I think he needs to win another one. In my opinion, now I think regular season. I think regular season. I think Dangerfield's done more over the years than Dustin Martin, but we can't ignore finals what he's done. Dusty, Dusty's that grand final against Geelong, he tore us a new one. Completely owned us in that grand final. And Dangerfield was on the other end of that. Clearly best on ground that night. If he wins another one, I'll be prepared to say I think he's better than Dusty because he's now won 2, even though Dusty won 3. But I think Danger's regular season is a little bit more consistent over the years than Dusty's.
I think that's spot on.
The first 6 weeks of the AFL season, if you remember, we're talking about Danger as All-Australian. He was having that good start to the year.
Overall, it's got to be Danger. I don't care.
Yeah, as it stands, 3-1. You're gonna take Dustin Martin's career all day, every day. But I think if he wins another one, I don't care about Norm Smith or whatnot. I don't care about that. No. Which does help, but Dusty was just a freak during those grand finals.
For sure.
Yeah, the one that probably hurt most is that when it came to Dusty versus Danger, Dusty won that premiership in that grand final. So Dangerfield can't get that back because Dusty's retired and Richmond is shit. But I think it's 60-40, maybe even 45-55. It's very close. I think if Dangerfield wins, I think he'll go past him. I think if Dangerfield wins, I'll say this to you now, I think he'll retire. I have this feeling he might retire as a premiership captain. It's the only thing he badly wants, Danger. If you look at his interviews, the way he talks about winning the flag as a captain, I think if he wins the flag, I think he's gone. I think he'll retire. He's got 1 year left on his contract.
27.
I just have this feeling he'll retire if they win this week.
I don't think
because that's okay.
I honestly don't think he will. I think he'll see out his contract and just play a bit up forward and try to go again.
I don't know if he will have the motivation.
I reckon. If he, I don't think he's going to retire. I really don't think he will. I thought he was contracted to 27.
No, he's got 1 year left on his contract. So
okay,
from what I gathered, so
okay. Given that it's 26, if it's 26, then okay, I understand it. It makes total sense. But if you've got 2 years left and your body's still going, in your mind, you've won the flag, you've done everything you wanted to do. I still think he would stick around to mentor the younger ones and so on and so forth. But who knows? He can do that off the field anyway.
I'll just read out questions before we head off. In terms of longevity and total career, I think he passes Dusty. But if you compare peaks, no one on earth ever beats 270 to 220 Dusty. Yeah, he won that grand final against us. So.
Yep.
I think he'll terrorise the league until he's 40. I wouldn't mind that.
He probably could.
just managing.
Guy's an absolute superstar, dude.
Well, if he plays like that he did in the prelim final, he can go until he's 50, for all I care. But anyway, Bo, we'll wrap this up. Thank you so much for coming on. I really do appreciate it, mate. I love you guys on the Jumper Punch. You've been very respectful to me, probably more respectful than the Hoops crew, which is probably saying something. But no, Bo,
I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much for having me.
No, pleasure was all mine. I hope I can do more shows with you and more people from the Jumper Punch. If you want to add Bo on Twitter, I've got his information in the link below in the description. Also, the Jumper Punch description in the link below. Please add him on Twitter. Please check out the Jumper Punch. Is that the end of the Jumper Punch? Are they doing a Wednesday show?
So yeah, Rivals is going ahead, 100%. So no, the Jumper Punch on Tuesdays will I think continues. Everything continues as normal for now. But I'm not sure. Rivals will continue, of course, and then obviously in the off season, Rocco will have Andy on for Unfiltered. So they'll be doing Unfiltered on that show. For anyone that doesn't know what that is, they just speak about a whole bunch of everything. All right, and they'll get some guests on there to talk about niche sort of topics. But Marzi's working on a couple of extra shows, and there's stuff I can't mention, but yeah, it's all happening. It's going to be good.
We appreciate you, Lucas, part of the TGP family. Thank you so much.
You are.
Lucas is a great host. Bo's an okay guest. I wouldn't say he's an okay guest. I thought Bo's been fantastic tonight. It's a bit harsh only, Carlton. Thanks for your time, guys. I really do appreciate it. We will sign off. Once again, Bo, thank you for coming, and we will see you the next episode of the Geelong Zone, which will be the Saturday. Hopefully a Geelong win. That would be nice. You actually make sense, Lucas. I try to be anyway. I don't like Bo. Okay, no more comments. Thank you very much. Bo, thank you for joining.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And that is the end of the show. Goodbye for now.
Thank you.